Hey entrepreneurs, it's your Podcast Mogul Phil Better here. I am excited for this episode as I know you are. Before we jump into this episode, I'm going to ask you if you are also a podcaster and you're looking to grow your podcast or monetize your podcast, make sure you stay till the end of the episode. I have a special deal for you, or a special offer, if you will. But ladies and gentlemen, without further ado, let's jump into the episode.
Welcome to Invest in Yourself, the Digital Entrepreneur Podcast. Join the Podcast Mogul Phil Better as he interviews successful entrepreneurs that make their living in the digital world. Now, let's join your host, Phil Better, and his special guest today on Invest in Yourself, the Digital Entrepreneur Podcast.
Episode of Invest in Yourself, the Digital Entrepreneur Podcast. I am, of course, the Podcast Mogul Phil Better, and I'm very, very excited to introduce our guest today. They are a global entrepreneur, two-time author, speaker, investor, and advisor. He is a force to be reckoned with who has transformed his humble beginnings into a remarkable journey of success. Our guest is the recipient of numerous awards in business, holds an honorary doctorate, and has held memberships in the US and European United Nations. He's also remembered his humble beginnings and enjoys speaking into the lives of entrepreneurs when possible. Our guest has won the National Blue Chip Enterprise Initiative Award, has been recognized for the top 50 fastest growing companies in the States, received commendations from the Senate and House of Representatives, that's a first for this show, and has had the honor of winning the SBA Entrepreneur of the Year Award. They currently lead Soaak Technologies as executive chairman and co-founder, providing mindfulness, mental health, and wellness in business and government. Soaak partnered with Amazon Alexa in 2021, and as of this month, we are currently in October, is with the U.S. Air Force. So please welcome our guest, Henry Penix. Henry, thank you so much for being here.
Phil, great to be here. I'm happy we got together.
I am excited. You just reading off all these great things in your bio. I'm like, I just want to shut up and say, please. Talk. Just talk. I don't know what we're going to talk about. Just talk. I'm pretty sure it's going to be mind-blowing amazingness. But Henry, thank you for being here. And please give us a quick introduction about yourself.
Yeah, well, I've always had the entrepreneurial blood running in my veins, I think. My father had always been an entrepreneur, turned pastor, by the way. So I've always been accustomed to working. I tell people I never remember not working. So all the way when I was 5-6 years old, shoveling snow for $5 to mowing lawns for 10, 15, I worked my way up to where I hired one of my friends who I would start charging $20 per lawn and pay him $10 for mowing it. So I started to catch on how to work smarter, not harder. And I rode that train like all the way up, and I'm still on it.
I love it. And that's amazing. I love how even at a young age, you realize like outsourcing, quote unquote, or hiring employees is the way to grow, because that's the only way you be able to multiply yourself. So your dad was an entrepreneur, and then who turned pastor, which is still an entrepreneur because you have to grow your flock, right? You're still growing a business. Even though you're bringing in money for better causes and that. Have you ever had a regular job, or were you always hustling and bustling on your own?
Yeah, no, it was kind of a mix. I remember in college, everybody, when they graduate, they want to work for a Fortune 500 corporation. At least everyone in business school did. And so I got my real first job, and probably the last job I ever had where I reported to someone was with a Fortune 500 corporation called Pitney Bowes. Pitney Bowes makes the indicia on the end of your mail. Up in the corner, instead of a stamp, there's a little indicia mark, and they owned about 80% of the market back then. So so I started with them. They were about a $3 billion a year company, and kind of cut my teeth on that sort of corporate business. And yeah, just worked my way up in the company. I was one of the youngest managers. Rated in the top 2% of their entire organization, operating out of Tulsa, Oklahoma. So they pulled me aside and they said, if you can do this out of Tulsa, Oklahoma, we'd love to move you to Dallas or New York or LA. And I said, well, that's great, but my family's here. I think I'll stay. And so that, when I knew I didn't want to be on the other end of a phone call of a corporate executive saying you need to pick your family up and move them here, and here, I started turning to more back to my roots of being an entrepreneur. So what could I do to make money that would let me set my own hours, keep my own schedule, and, really benefit from the efforts that I put in? What's that one-to-one benefit? And it was being an entrepreneur.
I love it. And when did you, how long did it take to get to where we are today with Soaak Technologies? Was Soaak always there, or was it just been created around the pandemic, or maybe before the pandemic?
So it took me my entire life to get to where I am today. First, it's everything that I've done, and I'm a firm believer in everything that you do is always a stepping stone to the next thing you'll do. I think the top of the mountain that you climb today will serve as the base of the mountain that you climb tomorrow. So I've really trained my mind to think that way. So everything that I've learned to date about helping others, I wanted to put into Soaak, being in the health tech field and health and wellness, and just see how many people I could actually help. We started just before the pandemic. It wasn't because of the pandemic, but because of the pandemic, we've seen some great relationships.
I love that. And yeah, the pandemic, from the talking with entrepreneurs, because I started this podcast at the end of 2020 with the goal to understand how to become an entrepreneur, because I didn't have any entrepreneurs in my life. I've only had corporate people. So talking with entrepreneurs, all of them have said that the pandemic either 10x their business because they were just so inundated, because they were solving these solutions to problems that weren't a big situation prior to the pandemic. And obviously when the pandemic hit, a lot of problems showed up. And I apologize to my audience for that little musical. It's on my end. But I was wondering, you said you started entrepreneurial very young, went into the corporate, and then realized, hey, this corporate life isn't for me because I don't really have control of my life, because you're just one phone call, either being fired or sent to Siberia, if you will, or away from your family.
Yep.
How was it when you decided, okay, I'm going back to my roots? Were you terrified, or were you was there excitement for that?
No, it was the scariest day of my life. It took me 6 months to write my resignation letter, because I had went to the top of this company's org chart and set sales records and all of that. And I had all of my insurances paid for. I had car expense. I mean, to a 24, 25-year-old at that time, that really meant a lot. Somebody else was going to pay for my gas. And, these were big things. And I thought, man, I'm doing great. I love what I'm doing. I had control of my schedule to a certain standpoint, as long as I was continuing to make all of my my meetings and my sales quotas and all that. But yeah, it took me 6 months, Phil, to write that resignation letter. And I was saving money. What if I fail? I was going back and forth, like everybody I'm sure does. Today I can have so much confidence because I look back and see that at the most frightened times in my life were also the most pivotal times. And when I could push through that fear and go ahead and make the decision scared, it resulted in some of my biggest growth. So that was probably one of the biggest things that I grew through was turning in that resignation letter. And I remember one of the top people, one of the presidents of one of the regions, flew into Tulsa, Oklahoma, and said, Henry, we received this, we accept it, we don't understand it, but if you ever want your job back, it's here. Like, don't even worry about it. So that made me feel good. But Phil, like, I don't think I've ever said this on a podcast. I also like had dreams like for months later, failing and having to ask for my job back. It's like that. It's like that dream that, I don't know if anybody's ever had the dream, like you're in your underwear in high school and you're running through the hall and you can't find your pants.
Oh, the most worrisome dream of anybody. Like, until you're 20, you live that high school dream. Until you're 20, you have that high school dream of like just waking up. School dream, waking up, you're in your boxers or you're at school, you're completely nude. It's the scariest thing, and I can relate. Like,
find your pants. Well, I felt like I couldn't find my pants for about 3 years, and but you know what that did, and I want your audience, because there's a lot of entrepreneurs here listening to you, that also leveraged me to a point where I worked twice as hard not to fail. Like you can use fear as something that paralyzes you or something that propels you, and the difference is in what you make it. And so when I used fear to propel me, I was setting records in other industries. I built a company with 300 employees. We were known. I won the SB Entrepreneur of the Year from that company, and won several other awards. I won't go into them all now. Found my way consulting at the United Nations, both in the US and in Europe. And I'm literally sitting there going, what's this, this boy from Tulsa, Oklahoma doing at the United Nations? But it was a whole lifetime of being afraid of things, pushing through fear, and saying, I believe more in my faith that I can do this than the fear that says I can't, and pushing through it and actually taking the steps and doing what I say I'm going to do, when I'm going to do it, et cetera, being a man of my word, keeping integrity at the highest level. Having integrity even when it hurts is something that I can look at that's really helped me develop into who I am today, that I can be trusted. I can do bank deals with a handshake. And, it's all of those things that puts you, when I said it's taken me a lifetime to get to where I am today, everything in my life that I've learned, I've used to this point. And, you tweak a little every time you make a change, you learn a little, you invest a little more in yourself to learn a little more. And then you get to that point where now you're saying, okay, it makes sense. I want to put all these things together and push them, push the go button on my next goal, take that to the tip of the spear and let this run as long as it can. So, that's a little bit of my journey.
I have to connect to your journey about when you were at the United Nations. And I have a follow-up for the United Nations, because I feel the same way. When I'm talking with entrepreneurs who have done these amazing things, I'm a kid in Montreal. Like,
I know.
How am I connected with these people who are making 8, 10, 12 figures? And right. I'm just here in my bedroom talking, and I'm like, this doesn't compute, it doesn't connect. So right. I can feel you sitting in the United Nations being like, what's going on?
What am I doing here? Yeah.
And I'm curious, how did that happen? How did that United Nations connection happen? If you don't mind me asking, because I'm always curious about that.
Yeah, no, I just to give you the 30,000 foot view, I had a friend that knew a representative in the UN, and they were asking for help with certain organizations. So I went in to give them advice on how to structure things to achieve their financial goals while achieving their humanitarian goals. And so we did that. And while I was there, since you're curious about this, I'll go ahead and share the story. While I was there, we had a little breakout session and everybody was just kind of mingling. And this guy walks over to me and there's like 5 people around him. And he says, hey, I'm so-and-so. And I said, yeah, I'm Henry Penix. And he said, well, I just bought this country. And he said, I'm wanting to know the best way to build like the health and health infrastructure, like healthcare and all that. And, I financed it. Okay. So I think I've got that down, but how would you build this? He's asking me, how would I build this infrastructure? And this is like a breakout meeting. This is not even planned or scheduled or anything. And yeah, I'm in the middle of giving him my thoughts and ideas again, thinking, here's a boy from Tulsa, Oklahoma that, is having dreams about being in his underwear in high school. And I'm consulting this guy on how to form a healthcare system for the country he just bought. So, that's the 30,000 foot view. There's a lot of detail, but again, me not giving up on my dreams ever and pursuing, not thinking too much of myself or too little of myself either. Because if I thought too little of myself, I never could have got there. If I thought too much of myself, nobody would have invited me there. So there's an edge that you walk as an entrepreneur. And I think when you find that balance, you find peace within yourself, but you also find unlimited opportunity.
That's so true. I'm amazed that a guy bought a country. Like, I want to know, how much do you have to spend to buy a country?
Yeah, I didn't know you could buy a country, to tell you the truth.
I know you could buy passports to a country, like change your status. Right. I didn't know you could outright buy a country, because if that's an option, well, that's on the goal list.
Yeah. That's your new bucket list.
Yeah, new bucket list. Wow. But again, hitting that point of, like, you never know what's possible until you walk into a door, and wow, I'm still blown away by that. But that's an amazing story. Like, again, you're giving advice to someone who has enough money to buy a country, and you're just a boy from Oklahoma. You're just a down, salt of the earth type person who's giving this person who has enough money to buy a country. Wow, your mind must have been blown.
It was, but I also thought that he must have seen something in me, that I had something to offer that he wanted. And so when people do that to you, no matter what you think of yourself, know that there's something that he's recognized inside you that you may not even see yourself. But when you get the request, always rise to the occasion. I think that's very important. And I proceeded to give him some advice, and he took it, and it was, and so that boosted my confidence for the next meeting.
I can only imagine how much that boosted your confidence, and probably, great story, just an anecdotal story to throw in a few years later. So I just, helped a guy who bought a country, with his infrastructure for his medical stuff. My God. That is a feather in the hat. I want to switch over a bit more into educating the audience about what it is you guys do at Soaak Technologies. Like, what is it that you guys do? What is the purpose and the guiding principle, if you will, of your company?
Yeah, so we specifically use sound frequency therapies to help people with anxiety, depression, low energy, low libido, low testosterone, things like that. So Soaak grew out of a clinic. We tested everything that we're using now in clinic for about 5 years. There were a lot of modalities in that clinic that we were using for holistic health and wellness. So everything from massage to IV therapy to, cranial sacral work, the different modalities we would use. And we started seeing that the modality of using sound frequency therapy was actually getting better results than just about anything. So we set up a sound frequency spa where you could actually walk into the spa, tell us what your need was. Say somebody came in, they're wanting help because they're having anxiety attacks. And we would look at the frequency for anxiety. We created a series of compositions that put certain frequencies together. So we'll layer 8 to 10 different frequencies together that are pointed directly to reducing anxiety at a cellular level. People would come in, listen to that for about 20 minutes. And after a few sessions, they would start to get major relief. And a lot of them would be, totally symptom-free of anxiety and panic attacks.
That's insane. Like, I understood the power of sound because, like, music, right? Music can make anybody move, inspired, and all this. And now you're getting down into the real hard science of it, if you will, and know that certain frequencies cause certain mood shifts, like you said, can cure anxiety or cure all these things. Once you started seeing this, did you double down and start studying it more, going into creating more of these clinics and understanding? How did you find, like, I have thousands of questions, obviously.
No. That's fine. So when we started seeing the efficacy of these work so well, my wife actually said, can we, instead of putting in 500 clinics all around the nation, can we take these digital? And I said, well, I don't know. I don't know if the efficacy would be the same if you're out of clinic. I don't know what modalities we could use to sort of convey that frequency. And I had 1,000 questions as well. So we answered all those questions one at a time, put quite a bit of money in it. I'd had some successful exits from other businesses that I was able to invest, and kind of by trial and error, and by the all the time that we had spent in clinic putting these together. It took about 2.5 years to digitize the entire sound frequency operation that we had in clinic. And we basically took that from, people coming in paying $800 to $1,000 a month. We reduced that to a subscription service, because that was another one of her requests. If we offer it to the masses, can we lower the cost so more people could get help? She's very tender heart, very, wants to help as many people as she can. We did that. We completed it. We proved the efficacy. All the science kept coming out. All the white papers kept coming out on how sound frequencies help all the things that I just mentioned: anxiety, depression, low energy, low libido, etc., female hormone support, all of that. And we launched. And before we knew it, about 1.5 years later, we were in 133 countries, had partnered with Amazon, their Alexa team, Amazon Smart Properties. And we also, a few months ago, went in contract with U.S. Air Force, training pilots for mission readiness. So a lot of stuff happened very quickly. We feel very fortunate, very blessed that this idea we had in clinic, 8 years ago, materialized in the digital space we're in now, and we're able to expand without putting in brick and mortar, and we can take these sound frequencies all over the world. So it's been an amazing ride.
I can only imagine how once it started picking up, once you started digitizing it and it started picking up, you got the Amazon Alexa team, and then all of a sudden you have the U.S. Air Force asking for help to help their pilots get ready. What was it like partnering with the U.S. Air Force? Because they're one of the biggest employers in the U.S. Obviously, the military is the largest employer. The U.S. Navy pilots are probably one of the top three inside that, under that. What was it like working with them?
It's continuing to be a work in progress, because you're finding new modalities, new things to learn. It was inspiring, but also humbling. Because you're thinking, we're the people that was just providing this in clinic out of Tulsa, Oklahoma, and now we're dealing with the U.S. Air Force. So it was almost as good as the guy asking me for advice at the UN for his country. It was like another little thing that happened. But we feel very fortunate, and we're so happy that we can not only just serve the Air Force, but helping serve the Air Force, we're serving the nation, and I think that's very important in the times we're living in, especially right now.
Yeah, no, it is super important, and I'm glad that you're helping out and making these individuals and these pilots feel ready for what's to come, and if something is to come. I'm wondering, if I snap my fingers, I figure you're someone who doesn't really look too much to the future. You seem like you're in the moment type person. But if I snap my finger, what is a goal you would love to achieve in the next 5 years?
I would like to be the number one health tech modality in the world.
And what does that look like? What does that entail, being the number one health tech modality?
That means using technology with health and wellness, helping people from a reactive basis who may be suffering certain symptoms or diseases that we can help with, but more importantly, being proactive in helping people maximize their body, their mind, their spirit. I think all those things work together. Helping them maximize themselves as human beings, so that they're not only the best version of themselves, but for their family, and then ultimately for the world.
I love that. Speaking of helping, because I always love to help, I would love if you could maybe provide a piece of advice for entrepreneurs, maybe a mindset, maybe, hey, listen to this frequency, it helps with this, or whatever you would love to share with my audience that can help them get to the next level or help them overcome something that's bothering them.
Yeah, well, I would love to sit here and talk another 10 minutes about our company and what it does, but I believe in letting people try it themselves. 97% of everybody that we surveyed of everybody that uses our app, the Soaak app, said that it's improved their life in one or more ways, in a very measurable way. So I would love to offer your audience 30 days free to use the Soaak app. They just go to Soaak.com and put in DE for Digital Entrepreneur. Just put in DE30, DE30, and get 30 days of a free app usage. And let me know what it did for you. Like I think one of the biggest testimonials, Phil, was when a lady came to us and she hadn't slept more than 3 hours in 9 years, 3 hours a night in 9 years. And every time, 2 hours, 3 hours, she would wake up and be up for the rest of the day. Well, she listened to our Sleep Well frequency, which is our number one listened to app. It seems like more people are having trouble today from sleeping than anything, and getting a good, healthy, good REM sleep and all of that. And she came and listened to our frequencies the first night, and her husband called us the next day, and they got through to us. And they said, the husband said, after 4 hours of sleeping, I started monitoring her and making sure she was breathing. The 5th hour, I started putting my finger under her nose to make sure she was breathing. And the 6th hour, Phil, 10 hours she slept.
Oh, shit.
10 hours. And it was the first time. And she felt like a new human. And so, when we get reviews like that and responses like that, honest to God, that lights our fire and keeps us going. It makes us even push on the gas harder and faster and all of that. So if people go to Soaak, Soaak.com, put in DE30, use us for 30 days. Once you're connected, download our app. We have a Android app, an iOS app, and we're in the Alexa system. Use any of those modalities, and just let me know what those things do to you. When you get into the app, you're going to find a library of 30 frequencies ranging from everything that I've said: anxiety, depression, low energy, low libido, hormone support, all of these different focus. There's a focus one that I've got like this 4-foot wide computer screen, and I've got no less than 15 windows open.
Oh my God.
Always jumping in and out of this stuff. And I'll play the focus frequency, and it tunes my mind so I can go there, finish it, bam, go there, finish it. I remember what I was doing over here, finish it, connect that one with that one, finish it. And that's one of my favorites. So, but yeah, have your listeners use that free for 30 days. If they like it, keep it. Please let us know how it affected your life. And if you don't, cancel it. We have one little easy cancel button. If you don't like it, get off, and at least you've got to experience the power of sound frequencies.
I love that. Thank you. First of all, thank you very much from myself and my audience for offering that free 30-day trial. And of course, audience, links down below with all the information for you for that. Wow, I'm looking for it. I'm going to go ahead and try, because I want to see how I understand how powerful sound frequency is. I'm slowly getting into that world, hearing about how powerful it is. So why not support a guest on my podcast and see the amazing work that you've put into this. And if that the only testimony you'll have is of that woman who's only slept 3 hours, and then her husband checking after 5 hours, I would be panic stricken that you killed my wife.
I know.
After 5 hours of sleeping.
I was too.
She awake, I want to be there.
Yeah.
definitely going to take a look at that. I know I sometimes have problems sleeping. So, hey, if I have something like a 10 hours sleep from 3 hours of sleep, I'm definitely going to take that as a testimonial if that isn't the best one there.
Sure.
But we are getting close to the end, which I hate because I'm having such a great time talking with you, Henry, and learning from you. And I have, again, thousands of more questions for you. However, I'm going to end with this question. I snapped my fingers. I have 10-year-old Henry here, Spitfire entrepreneur of himself. What's a piece of advice that you want to hand off to Henry?
I think probably something that I learned later in life that I wish I would have known earlier in life is, just do it, and even do it scared. So don't let fear of what you think may happen keep you in this frozen state, because it probably never will happen or never would have happened. We tend to exaggerate fear in our mind and we blow it up, and it's this big bad monster that's living under the bed that's going to get our feet when we get out of bed, like when there's really no monster under your bed. So I would think just pushing through and not letting fear keep you from making pretty big decisions that will help you throughout your entire life. I played baseball for a large part of my life early on. And sometimes I would be a little timid about going out and trying out for a certain position that I wanted, but I would push through, and then I would get the position and think, why was I so fearful in the first place? Because I can really do this. So I think, there's several points that I could make right now, but I think the biggest one is let the faith you have in yourself push you through the fear that may be trying to hold you back, and see what God, the universe, whatever you believe in, has for you, to not just show up at any random destination in life, but to show up at your unique destiny and the reason that you were born.
I can't wait to give that to my nephew. That's going to be amazing. Henry, I'm going to jump off stage and just digest everything you just said. Please let my audience know where they can connect with you, how they can support you in any way. Obviously, they can go to Soaak website and that, but is there any other way they can connect with you?
Yeah, all of our social media, we're at Daily Soaak, at DAILYSOAAK, on Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, or X now. And we'd love to connect with you. The biggest driving force is when somebody uses our technologies and then sends back a testimonial. So I hope it works out for you guys. I hope you achieve every dream that you've ever thought of and then some. And I hope if Soaak plays a part in that, helping you get to not just a destination, but your destiny, then we've done our jobs.
Excellent. Henry, I want to thank you so much for coming on the podcast, sharing that great offer trial to my audience, but also sharing your stories with us, and just being an amazing mentor to my audience.
Thank you very much. Have a great day.
You too. To my audience, remember, check out the show notes down below to get that free 30-day trial from Soaak and Henry. And remember to always, always invest in yourself. Hey, digital entrepreneurs, thank you so much for listening to this episode. I hope you guys have enjoyed it. Now, if you're looking to take your podcast to the next level, like most of these entrepreneurs have taken their business to the next level, to scale it, if you will, make sure you check out my brand new newsletter. Links are down below. It is called the Monetization Mogul Syndicate newsletter, or it could be Phil Better Stories of Monetization Moguls, or Making Moguls is what I do. So make sure you go ahead and check that out. But I want to thank you very much for listening. And as always, remember to invest in yourself.